This right here is the Motorola Edge 30 Fusion. In other words, the most underrated smartphone model I've ever seen in a while. So let's talk about it. The design has an aluminum frame with a Gorilla Glass 5 on the back. It feels amazing. I honestly am a big fan of screen edges. I know a lot of people don't like screen edges for some reason, but I think it just gives it a more futuristic look. And I'll take any day a smartphone with a screen edge over a brick smartphone that it's so uncomfortable to hold in your hands. So most of the day it feels very thin. It weighs around 175 grams, which is like super light for today's standards. Also, the feeling is very premium. It's a design that it really feels very nice in hands. The only problem with it is that it's very slippery, so a lot of the time I usually wear it in a case so that it just doesn't, slip out of my hands. But either way, it feels very premium. It reminds me of the Lenovo ThinkPad, since Motorola is now owned by ThinkPad. But overall, the design is a huge bonus for me. I think it's one of the most premium mid-range designs you'll ever get in a smartphone. Now moving on to the display. The display is a 6.55 inches, 140 Hz POLED display with a peak brightness of 1100 nits, which back then, like 2 years ago when I got this, it was like a pretty solid display, and it still holds very well to this day. When watching stuff on this thing is very rewarding, especially the ratio. I like this 9.16 ratio. Also, the extra dim feature on this display, it works very good, especially when you're in bed laying in the night and watching stuff. The sound quality is one of the best in this price range. It has Dolby Atmos. When I got this smartphone, I didn't really believe that the Dolby Atmos would be so good, but it literally is a good solid sound system packed in. It also has profiles such as smart audio or music or movies. Now let's get into the software. It came with an Android 12 with 2 years of updates, which for me it's quite low for today's standards. I think this is an area where Motorola could really improve as on the software sides. Like even their premium smartphones get very few updates. Security updates are said to be 3 years, but in today's standards where Samsung, Xiaomi and other phone manufacturers offer like at least 4 years of updates, this is a bit too little. However, speaking of the stock Android experience, the Android on this smartphone it's more stock than even the Google Pixel smartphones. It has very few customizations. I think this is the area in which it's most lacking. But other than that, the software is very fluid. I mean, it still holds up very well to this day. As for the processor in this thing, it has a Snapdragon 888 Plus processor. This is the reason why I got this smartphone first of all, because I really needed something for a bit of everything. Watching stuff, gaming, editing photos, videos, and this thing still holds up very well to this day in performance. I think this is like the most underrated part from the Motorola Edge Fusion series, the performance. I think this is one of the reasons why it's one of the best bargains you could ever get, because it packs good performance for the money. The processor still holds up very well in games I play. In FIFA, you get 60 frames constantly, and then you have games such as Fortnite, Call of Duty, Genshin Impact. On Fortnite, I get around 40-50 frames, and on Genshin as well, but those are very demanding games. Moving on to the battery on this thing lasts around a day, but unfortunately for this model, I've been a screen time monster with this thing. I'm talking about at least 5 hours of screen time every day, and even 5 hours. I mean, after 5 hours, you would still have to charge it one day, but I'm talking about 7 hours of screen time, which I use it a lot. So when it comes to the battery is okay. It's not something spectacular, but it holds up on day-to-day usage. So if you're not a huge screen gobber like me, it will hold up a whole day. Also, one of the things that I really love about it is that it has a charger in the box, and it's a 68 watts charger. And one of the things that I really love about this battery, that it charges super fast. In 30 minutes you'll have it full on to go. So this is one aspect you should keep in mind. But now let's talk about something that really holds this smartphone back, and I'm talking about the cameras. I don't buy my smartphones for cameras especially. I have gear such as the Sony 7C and the ZV-10 when it comes to portability. And so I never usually shop for a smartphone's camera. But I think this is where the smartphones come a bit short, is the camera. So on the spec sheet, it has a 50 megapixels camera on the wide and an ultra wide 30 megapixels, which is a huge disadvantage. Like, it's a huge difference in megapixels. And then you have the selfie camera, which is a 32 megapixels. The front camera can shoot up to 8K and the selfie camera up to 4K. But here's the catch. Photos on the smartphone are usually very contrasted. The processing is not exactly to my liking, not because of the contrast. I like contrast, but the colors in themselves, they tend to be a bit washed, and the same goes for the video as well. This is a front camera test. As you can see, it's 4K, 60 frames. Also, the thing about the video is the video footage comes usually very grainy, even in good light performance, such as this one. And so I think this is what holds this smartphone back. It's the camera. Other features that this smartphone really drew my attention is that it has a Ready For. What is Ready For? It's the equivalent of Samsung DeX for Motorola. Samsung DeX comes from desktop experience. So what happens is you take your smartphone and you connect it to a monitor, an external monitor, and you put it a keyboard and a mouse. It should turn your Android into full-on desktop mode with resizable windows. You can watch stuff. The Ready For on this thing can support actually 4K displays, and I actually tested it. I thought that I would be using the desktop experience a bit more, but honestly I didn't have that many occasions in which I use it. But it's a cool feature to have, especially for this price range. In conclusion, I think the Motorola Edge 30 Fusion is one of the most overlooked smartphones ever. Like, the Fusion model in itself is one of the most underrated mid-range section ever. It packs good performance, good battery in a way that it charges fast. The display is good. The design is one of the most premium feeling designs ever, and the sound as well. However, it has very few software updates, and it also has bad cameras. I think the upcoming models have got it better. And if you want a camera mid-ranger smartphones, I will go with the Google Pixel. And if you want a bit of both worlds, as good performance and good cameras, I would go with something like Nothing Film. It's an overall good smartphone, especially for people that really want to save money. It cost me around 400 bucks. Now it's on sale even to 300 to 200 bucks. And I got this with 12 gigs of RAM as well as 256 gigs of storage. While this is a good smartphone, I think the issue is that a lot of tech reviewers tend to overlook it. The reason for that is I think that Motorola is not doing something extraordinary. No, it's not a startup company. Neither does it have an obsession with AI or any breakthrough features. But I think that if tech reviewers would actually give it a chance, and if they would give more attention to the detail and it actually, reaches out the Motorola team, I think this actually could turn out into a very good smartphone. If you liked what I said, like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't, thank you for sticking till the end, and I'll see you in the next one.